Hey everyone, it's Travis, and I'm back with Fast Track lesson number 5. Quick review. We've been talking about the bulletproof shield. How do we have a perfect day? Because after 2 perfect days, we're in EFB, efficient fat burning, and we're going to learn how to lock it down and rip off the knob of that fat burning potential. Okay, so today we're going to get into food combining. This is really the heart of the physiological aspect of our program and differentiates it from all other programs in my estimation. So let's unpack that. So how do we have a perfect day? Quick review: water. You've got to drink your water. You want to drink a half a gallon up to a gallon. We covered that. Check. If you skip one of the components we go over, now they're easy to do, but if you skip it, it's not a perfect day. It becomes a holiday. Then after our water, you know what we want to do then? We want to journal. If you bite it, you write it. You hog it, you log it. Please do not underestimate the behavior modification potential of a journal. It's where we get to know ourselves and figure out what those triggers are, and we can avoid life getting in the way. Certainly, it's going to happen from time to time, but more often than not, with a handy journal and, of course, live class with yours truly, if we do that, we're going to stay focused. We're going to keep going down the right path. We're going to keep installing those good habits, if you will. So today we're talking about food combining. Food combining has become more of a thing over the last, I would say, 5 years. I've been doing this 20 years, and when I started, no one talked about food combining except if you were an amateur or professional athlete looking to put on muscle. Now, that's not what we're doing, but we're learning how to food combine, not to spike insulin, but we want to minimize or even neutralize insulin through food combining. So food combining works this way. So anytime we eat a carbohydrate, whether it's fast digesting or slow digesting, we're getting this spike of insulin. And if we get too much insulin running through our bloodstream on a daily basis, we cannot efficiently lose body fat. Food combining helps us neutralize that growth hormone called insulin. We call it honk, the fat bus. And the fat bus is as the fat bus does. So anytime we have those insulin levels elevated, then we're going to experience increased appetite during that time. We're also going to experience more fat storage, not just at that meal, but after that meal and up for 2 days, depending upon the spike that you had. And then we're going to stop the efficient fat burning mode. It's just intuitive, isn't it? You have spiked a growth hormone, therefore you're in a growth mode. And when you're in a growth mode, you're not going to be losing very much body fat because your body is primed to store both fat and build muscle depending on what your workout regimen is and your protein intake. So we must control and neutralize the fat bus. I like to give it some imagery. Otherwise, insulin, you know what, we're looking at a plate and you're learning through this course, you're learning how these foods break down, which ones cause the insulin spike, which ones don't. Big whoop. But when we start putting some imagery with it, that fat bus, yeah, every time you go to the Mexican restaurant and you're about to eat those chips instead of the ones that you should take in or avoid them, you could even avoid them. But every time you go in there, I want you to hear Travis go, honk. We got to stay off the fat bus. We don't want a fat bus running rampant through our bloodstream and storing fat, not just then, but later. Increased fat. Well, let's don't do that. We don't have to because we can neutralize and control the we can control the fat bus through proper food combining. So like in the next lesson, we're going to start looking at food categories and you're going to start understanding about how to combine macros because there are 4. Now, most nutritionists today or dietitians, they only say there's 3 macros. I'm old school. I go back 20 years. There's water. I count that as a macro. Water has 0 calories per gram, doesn't spike insulin, obviously. Then you have protein, 4 calories in a gram, doesn't spike insulin, but get this. Protein helps neutralize the fat bus. Are you seeing where we're going with this? And we also preserve muscle with protein. A lot of good things about protein that we get into in the Faithfully Fit classes. That's just amazing. Talking about the thermic effect and how to have exercise on a plate. But for now, we're going to keep it simple. And I need you to trust me. This works. Protein neutralizes the fat bus. And then you have carbohydrate, also 4 calories per gram, but it elevates blood sugar depending on whether it's fast digesting or slow digesting. Well, that will dictate how elevated the blood sugar goes. And the higher the blood sugar goes, the more insulin you're going to need to bring those blood sugar levels back down. When you consume carbohydrate, whether it's simple carbs or complex carbs, you're going to get some sort of blood sugar impact. And then your pancreas releases the fat bus, and you bring down those blood sugar levels. You know what? Insulin's really your friend, because if your pancreas, your internal pharmacy, did not secrete that insulin, we'd all go into a diabetic coma and die, especially as much fast digesting carbs is in our food supply and processed and synthetic carbs. We wouldn't survive. So thank goodness for insulin. But we've got to understand, if our goal is to efficiently burn body fat, we got to neutralize it somehow, or we're never getting out of this pit. It's going to be a vicious cycle forever. So we got to understand what foods classify as protein, what foods classify as carbohydrate. Then you got the fourth macro, you got fat. 9 calories in a gram of fat, twice as dense in calories, and fat is already in the form of fat. Now, there's long-chain triglycerides, more easily stored as fat. There's medium-chain tris. There's short-chain tris. Again, advanced. I just need you to trust me right now on what I'm telling you. So, now, let me paint the picture a little bit. We neutralize insulin, my friends, because if we don't, we've got fat storage. So, let's say that let's go back to when I first started. I loved peanut butter sandwiches, and I would have regular peanut butter on white bread. The whiter the bread, the quicker we're dead. Peanut butter's mostly fat, very little protein in it. And then the white bread is nothing but processed starch. And, if you look at the label, it doesn't have sugar in it per se, but it breaks down like sugar because it's starch. So we eat the white bread and the peanut butter. Now visualize with me. So you're eating this sandwich, it's low calorie, it's not a lot of calories. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter is about 200 calories. You loaf bread, probably white bread, you probably got 140 calories. You're under 300 calories. You think you did good. If you're on a point system, you're like, I kept my points really low. But here's what happens. You got to begin with the end in mind. You just had that white bread and that peanut butter together. Tastes like a sandwich, tastes like peanut butter sandwich. But your body sees something totally different. It goes, sound the alarm, sound the alarm. And your pancreas releases that insulin, because when you eat white bread, it's so high glycemic, your blood sugar goes through the roof. I mean, the roof is on fire, and your pancreas has got to go, got to save the day with that insulin secretion. Here comes not just the fat bus, but like a Greyhound bus. And it sees the peanut butter, but it's not seeing the yummy peanut butter that you just ate. It's seeing them long-chain triglycerides that are stuck together, and they get stuck in the cell wall because they're so low. And here comes the fat bus. Stop sign, picks them up. And now guess where it's going to take the kiddos? It's going to take them to your available fat cells where there's still some storage capacity. And then plum, we go plum. Everybody do that with me. Plum. That's what happens. So we can't do it. So do we have to give up our peanut butter sandwich? No. Let me give you a preview of these next lessons. We don't have to give up the peanut butter sandwich. Here's what I found. Because protein and fiber is in the classification of a carb, but it doesn't break down like a carb. In my estimation, I wish it was another macro, because protein and fiber help neutralize the fat bus. It slows down the blood sugar elevation, so you get little to no fat bus. This is going to be life-saving stuff, isn't it? If you can still have your peanut butter sandwich. But wait. So here's what I did. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm over 300 pounds and I'm on all kind of prescription medications, and I'm on a budget, and I got to eat peanut butter. And I tried that quick weight loss center and paid them $800 that I didn't have, and I didn't stick with it. And I had to eat all these weird things. And oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I can't find nothing that works, but maybe this will work. But I have to have a bread that tastes like bread. I can't give up my bread. At least that's what I was thinking when I started. And I thought, there's going to be no bread at the store that will fit the profile where it's got enough protein and fiber to neutralize the honk, the fat bus. So I wrote all these formulas down, and I went over to Kroger and I started looking at the bread. I'm like, nope, that won't work. Nope, that won't. Oh, surprise, surprise. I found one that will work. And back then, they don't make this one anymore, but it was Nature's Own double fiber wheat bread. And I found a tortilla that worked, Olay Extreme Wellness tortillas. They're in our library. We've got over 100 bread products now that are approved. But I wrote all these formulas, and it was how much protein and fiber ratio do I need to the carbohydrate so that I can neutralize the insulin. And I found it. I found breads that still taste like bread, but they break down more inside of me like a green bean. So if I begin with the end in mind, tastes like a peanut butter sandwich, but I'm really having peanut butter and green beans. Ha! Yeah, isn't that awesome? It don't taste like peanut butter. I wouldn't eat peanut butter. Here's a funny story. When I started 20 years ago, I wasn't going to be a coach. And people said, how you lose all that weight? Because I lost 44 pounds in less than 6 weeks. Brother Travis, how'd you lose all that weight? And I said, because I've always been a little awkward out in public around people. And it's like, this is what come to mind. I went, I eat peanut butter and green beans. It just popped out. And I thought it was funny. Next thing I know, people were coming to the office I worked in at the time, and they said, hey, I lost weight eating peanut butter and green beans like you told me. I'm like, oh, no. I was talking about a peanut butter sandwich. All I did was change out my bread and buy a better quality peanut butter. Still tastes like a peanut butter sandwich, but guess what? I lost weight instead of tasting like a peanut butter sandwich and gaining weight. I did that with everything: peanut butter sandwiches, grilled cheese sandwich, etc. So this is what we're going to focus on for a few lessons: is food combining for fat bus control. Before I say bye, everybody do it with me because it's fun. It makes you feel good. Honk, honk. We're going to stay away from the fat bus. I'll see you in the next lesson, and we'll talk more about food combining and insulin control. Others talk about it, but they don't teach it.